I bet my best friend I could make her fall in love with me in a month. Aaron, how many times do I have to tell you that I'm not falling in love with you? This bet is ridiculous, and I'm going to win. Really? Yes, I'm not falling for you. Then why are you about to kiss me? I know what you're thinking. She fell in love with me. But really, how did I end up here? Let me rewind a bit because this whole situation needs some serious context. Ava and I had been best friends for 3 whole years. That's over 1,000 days of shared coffee runs, late-night study sessions where we'd end up talking about everything except work, and an ungodly amount of inside jokes. Everyone assumed we were dating honestly. We'd get those knowing looks from friends and the "when are you two finally going to get together" comments. But we'd just laugh it off because the idea seemed absurd to both of us. We were friends. Best friends. That was the box we lived in. Then one completely random Tuesday in October, everything changed. We were at the library, and Eva was so focused on whatever she was working on that she didn't even notice when I sat down. Her eyebrows were scrunched together, and she was mouthing words to herself as she typed. And something just clicked in my brain. I wanted to watch her get lost in her work like that for the rest of my life. I spent the next 2 weeks absolutely losing my mind. Every time we hung out, I'd catch myself staring at her for too long, or reading way too much into the casual way she'd touch my arm when she laughed. Then one Friday night at her place, we were eating pizza when some sauce fell on her shirt. We laughed about how she eats like a child, and she went to change. My breath got caught when she came back wearing my hoodie, the one she'd stolen months ago and refused to give back. I liked seeing her wearing my clothes, a little too much than I would have thought. And suddenly, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know if there was ever a chance. Hey, so I've been thinking. My voice came out weird, and she looked up at me. We should go out to eat. Eva blinked a few times, processing my words. What do you mean? We hang out all the time. No, I mean like a date. A real date where we dress up and go somewhere nice. She pulled at the strings of the hoodie, probably feeling wrong for wearing it now. Are you being serious right now? She asked, and I nodded. She was quiet for a second, then shook her head slowly. No. She said it so simply, like she was turning down a second slice of pizza. Aaron, I love you, but not like that. You're my best friend. That's all I see when I look at you. That stung more than I expected it to. I sat there processing what she'd just said. She couldn't see me that way because she'd never seen me try to be that person for her. The thought hit me like a truck, and suddenly I was talking before my brain could catch up. I bet I can make you fall in love with me in a month. She laughed out loud. What? Are you insane? But I kept going. 1 month. Let me take you on dates and be romantic with you. If you still feel nothing after 30 days, I'll never bring it up again. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head, but I knew better. I could see her thinking it over, probably weighing how insane this whole thing was. Then she smiled her competitive smile. Fine, 1 month. But when I win and nothing changes, you're buying me sushi from that fancy place downtown. Deal. And when you lose and realize you're crazy about me, you're admitting I was right all along. We shook on it like idiots. And just like that, I had 30 days to make my best friend fall in love with me. The next day, I went to her place with a bagel in hand. She opened the door in her pajamas and monkey slippers and her usual grumpy face. Ava was usually moody after waking up, but she always felt better after getting some food in her. I got you breakfast so you can stop being hangry, I told her. She didn't laugh, just glared as she stepped away from the door to let me in. You got my usual right? You know I hate it when you try to get me to try new stuff. Yes, there was no way I was going to risk getting punched in the face so early in the day just because you got food disappointment. That got a small laugh out of her and a punch to my arm. I feigned like it hurt and asked if she secretly started going to the gym. She rolled her eyes and took a bite of the bagel. It was like I could see her mood brightening up immediately after she swallowed. I can beat you up without ever stepping foot into a gym. She smirked, as if she was speaking the truth. I couldn't help the laugh that escaped me. You clearly haven't seen my muscles lately, I said, and flexed my biceps in her face. She stared at them in a way that made me self-conscious, as if she were checking me out. I froze where I stood. Our conversation was flowing naturally, despite all odds, but now it got weird because it looked like I was flirting with her. I put my biceps away quickly and cleared my throat. Ava looked up at me and laughed. Don't make this weird now. You started it. I felt the blood rush to my head. Yeah, whatever, I said, trying not to prove her right. Okay, so, what's the plan for today? She changed the topic. I furrowed my eyebrows and she quickly got the hint I had no idea what she was talking about. Where are you taking me? You do plan on taking me on a date, right? I smiled. And you say you're not gonna fall for me. I rolled my eyes. You're literally begging me to take you out. She slapped me on the arm faster than I could move away from her terrifying man hands. I'm just trying to get free food here. Who said I'm paying? Her jaw fell open while I stared at her dead serious. You're kidding, right? She looked disgusted for a second before changing her face. You should have seen your face. I bursted out laughing. Yes, I'm paying. We're gonna go to an Italian restaurant. You should probably change before we go, unless you want to have fine dining in your monkey slippers. We both looked at them, and she wiggled her feet. She hummed. Do they have a dress code? Nah, I think you can get away with it. And if I can't, you'll bribe them to let me in, right? Obviously. If you don't come in with me, I'm going to look like I got stood up. And I don't think the food is good enough for me to experience that kind of humiliation. Then why are we going there? She raised an eyebrow. I knew she thought she was the funniest person on earth. So you want me to be humiliated? It would be funny, she giggled, and I swear time stopped for a second, letting me enjoy every second of her laugh. Before I could say anything, she ran off yelling something about a shower. I sat down on the couch and considered taking a nap because she was going to take hours to get ready. But the silence let me think about what just happened. I honestly expected Eva to overthink to death and change her mind overnight because of how ridiculous she thought this was. I could barely sleep last night thinking about her slamming the door in my face today and telling me she never wanted to see me again because I was some sort of creep. But I was glad that things didn't turn out that way. I think she's just more competitive than I give her credit for. Ava came out of the shower 30 minutes later, and she popped into the living room holding up a red and black dress. Which one looks better? She asked. It almost sounded like she was asking me which one I thought she looked prettier in, and like a useless idiot I almost said either of them worked. But Ava was as indecisive as they come, so I knew that answer would only result in a shoe getting thrown at me. It's happened before. The red one. You light up in red. It makes you impossible to look away from. She stared at the red dress for a long time. I wasn't sure what was running through her mind. The fact I got a little too romantic and she's never heard me speak that way to her before, or wondering if she actually wanted to wear the red dress. After a long moment of silence, she said, I'll take your word for it, and shuffled to her room. I gulped nervously, wondering if I had messed up our friendship by letting my emotions take control of me. She came back out an hour later wearing the dress, black heels, earrings, a necklace, and bracelets. I had never seen her so dressed up before, and definitely not for me. I actually felt my heart wanting to jump out of my chest. Me 3 weeks ago would have told her that she should change into the monkey slippers again, or made fun of her for trying too hard for a guy. But I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to appreciate the effort she put in for me, have her know that I was serious about wanting her. You're so beautiful, I said, and even I was shocked by how soft-spoken those words came out, like they weren't lustful, just honest and real. Thanks, she mumbled. Are you ready to go? Yeah. I cleared my throat and stood up. The energy in the room shifted, and I desperately wanted to get it back to our normal. You're going to love this place, trust me, I said, holding the door open for her. Okay, I trust you. On the drive to the restaurant, we talked about her shift at the campus bookstore, and she started ranting about this girl who tried to return a textbook she'd highlighted in neon yellow. Like the entire book, she said, gesturing wildly. Every single page looked like a highlighter exploded on it. What did you do? From the corner of my eye, I could read her expression telling me, You're seriously asking me that? I laughed. She had to pay full price, and she had the audacity to look at me like I was in the wrong. Erin, I swear she was seconds away from throwing her pumpkin spice latte in my face. Was it at least cold? No. Oh, you were almost cooked. The restaurant had dim lighting and candles on every table. I thought that it didn't matter how romantic the place looked. We were still going to joke around like we were literally doing 5 minutes ago when I parked. But the second we got seated, Ava shifted around uncomfortably in her seat. It was like it hit her at the last minute that we were on a date and not hanging out as friends. I hated that I let the awkwardness get to me, and just for a second, I wondered if I would actually be able to win her heart. I nearly choked when she grabbed her menu and held it up between us like it was some kind of safety barrier. We were acting like complete strangers on a blind date instead of people who'd spent 3 years together. The waiter came by and we both ordered in these weird, polite voices that didn't sound like us at all. After he left, I just looked at her and said, Okay, this is stupid. We can just be normal. Her whole body relaxed and she put the menu down. Oh, thank God. I was trying so hard not to be weird that I made it 10 times weirder. I laughed. Yeah, I could tell. You looked like you were meeting the Queen or something. She gasped, offended. Well, you didn't look much better. I thought you were going to run away. Never. Our food came and we ate in comfortable silence for a bit. Then I tried to give her a compliment. Something about how the candlelight made her eyes look nice. She stopped mid-bite and stared at me. Did you just compliment my eyes? I asked. What was wrong with that? And she shook her head. Nothing. It's just, you never say stuff like that. It sounds wrong coming from you. I asked her if she wanted me to stop and she thought about it. No, keep going. I need to see how far you'll take this. She was smiling though, like she was enjoying watching me try. We got back to her apartment around 10. I walked her to the door, and we just stood there for a second in that weird space where neither of us knew what to do. On a normal night, I would have just walked in with her, and we'd watch something before I headed home. But this wasn't a normal night, and I didn't know if I was supposed to kiss her goodnight, or hug her, or just leave. Ava must have read my mind because she laughed. You look terrified right now. I told her I wasn't terrified, and she raised her eyebrows. You're doing that thing where you shift your weight from foot to foot. You only do that when you're nervous. She was right. I was doing that. She stepped closer and gave me a hug like we'd done 1,000 times before. When she pulled back, she had this amused look on her face. Thanks for dinner. It was actually really nice. She went inside, and I stood there for a minute wondering if that counted as progress. Thursday rolled around and I showed up at her place with pizza, like I had every Thursday for the past 3 years. Ava opened the door already laughing. Is this a date or are we back to being normal? I told her it was just pizza night and she nodded. Good, because I'm not getting dressed up to eat pizza on my couch. And you shouldn't have to, I said, after noticing she was wearing my shirt. I could get used to seeing her in my clothes more often. We sat down on the couch while she put on our show. Can I put my arm around your shoulder? I asked. She looked shocked that I was so bold, but a smirk crawled on her face. Oh, Aaron, you're falling for me harder every day, aren't you? She took the liberty of putting my arm around her. I smirked. That's my line. She burst out laughing harder than I expected and ended up leaning against my chest. When did you get so corny? It's part of my charm when I'm romancing a girl. I felt her body go rigid against me, and the world nearly collapsed in that moment. Did I mess things up somehow? She looked up at me, and her glare could have killed me. I swallowed nervously. You've romanced other girls? She said sternly, like I was being scolded. It was my turn to laugh. Oh my gosh, you almost had me. Her facade dropped once I said that. I almost had you. I know you wanted to jump off a bridge. Not true, I said, trying to hide my smile. So does this mean you're the jealous type? I asked. I'm not jealous. I just don't want my man to look at another girl. Her man. I was confident I would be hers. Monday morning, I texted Eva asking if she was free in the afternoon. She sent back, depends on what you're planning, and I told her it was a surprise. I hate surprises, she replied immediately. Too bad, I sent back. I spent 2 hours that morning setting up a scavenger hunt around campus. Each clue had an inside joke or a memory from the past 3 years. The first one I taped to her apartment door with a bag of sour gummy worms attached. She opened the door while I was standing there grinning like an idiot. What is this? She asked, already suspicious. Read it, I said. She snatched the note from my hand. Where we first met, and you spilled coffee on my favorite shirt. P.S. You still owe me a new one. She looked up at me with her eyes narrowed. That shirt was ugly anyway. I did you a favor. I laughed. You literally cried apologizing. I did not cry, she said, already putting on her shoes. I had something in my eye. There's a difference. She cried. We walked to the library, and she found the second clue taped under our usual table. A gift card to the campus coffee shop, and another note. Where you made me watch the autopsy of Jane Doe and I couldn't sleep for a week. She laughed and turned to me. It wasn't that scary. You're just a baby. I looked at her with a face that said, BTF. I'm scared of bells to this day because of that movie. Sounds like a you problem, she scoffed. Then she started hitting my arm and excitedly saying, Oh my gosh, I remember you begged me to sleep on my couch because you were too scared to go home and sleep by yourself. I got embarrassed in an instant and hoped no one heard that. That's so not what happened. She crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. I still have pictures of you on my couch from that night. I drew a ding-a-ling on your face. Yeah, I wish you hadn't. I was seeing my parents that day. I had to wear a mask to hide it and feign being sick. Well, we all can't get what we want. She stuck out her tongue at me. Anyway, moving on to the next clue. I rolled my eyes. The next clue led us to the quad. She found it tied to the bench with her favorite candy bar. Wait. She stopped and looked around. This is where you told me that you wanted to switch majors, but were scared to tell your parents, and I said you should just do it. I had barely spoken to her, didn't even know her last name, but her affirming how I felt gave me the push to do it. I'm still grateful I listened to her on that day. I can't believe you remembered the exact bench. Obviously, I said, and she looked at me for a second too long before speaking. That's wild. Is it working, though? She ripped open the candy bar. Maybe. I'm reserving judgment until I see what else you have planned. We went through 5 more stops. Each one had a small gift and led to another memory. By the time we got to the final location, she was carrying everything in her arms and trying not to smile. We ended up in our economics class, where I left the final clue where she used to sit 3 years ago. She picked it up and read it out loud. 3 years ago, you sat next to me and changed everything. Thanks for being my best friend. Now let me take you to dinner. This is really sweet, she said quietly. Like really, really sweet. Did you have fun? She had tears in her eyes. Yeah, reminiscing was nice. We've come so far. She hugged me and told me she didn't hate my surprises. I almost didn't want to let go. The moment was too nice for it to end. Wednesday, I picked her up for another surprise. Where are we going? She asked immediately. You'll see, I said. All right, I'm trusting you. You better not disappoint. I never do, Eva, I smirked. After 20 minutes, she started panicking. We're leaving the city. Aaron, where are you taking me? Oh my gosh, you're kidnapping me. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. This is how I die. Do me a favor and at least bury me in my monkey slippers. The amount of times she has made me roll my eyes needs to be studied. You're so dramatic. I'm just taking you to a pumpkin patch. She immediately relaxed. Oh, I mocked. In my defense, I'm just a girl. You're not getting buried in your slippers. Then I'm going to ruin this date. I whipped my head around so fast I nearly crashed into the car next to us. You said date. I saw her face when she realized I was right, but tried to play it smooth. Well, yeah, you're romancing me, so this is obviously a date. Oh my God, you're liking all this attention, aren't you? I accused her, and waited for her to put her hands up in defense. She did. Well, you like me, so, she defended, as if that was a good comeback, but I saw how pink her cheeks got the second all those words left her mouth. That wasn't a secret, I chuckled. She got nervous and cleared her throat like 50 times, trying to think of something to say that wouldn't make it obvious she was being awkward. Driving an hour to look at pumpkins is kinda insane, don't you think? Not at all. When we got there, she didn't think it was so insane. Okay, this is actually really cute, she admitted, looking around at the rows of pumpkins and the corn maze. I knew you'd like it, I said, and she shoved my shoulder. Don't get cocky. Cocky's my middle name, I smirked, and watched her guffaw. Your middle name has the word cock in it. She was actually pointing and laughing at me, hutched over as she laughed harder and tried to catch her breath. I stood there awkwardly, waving at other people passing by, telling them to not mind Eva because she was dropped on the head as a baby. At least my name doesn't have the word keek in it. She recovered after I told the 5th person that. Ava, shush, there's kids around. I tried to save myself. Afterwards, we walked through trying to find good pumpkins. She kept stopping at ones that were massive. What about this one? She asked, pointing at one that had to be 40 pounds. There's no way that's fitting in my car, I said. She put her hands on her hips. You have no vision, Aaron, no sense of ambition. I have plenty of ambition, I said. I'm just realistic. Boring, she sang, and kept walking. I watched her sway from side to side as she hummed her little song. She had no idea what she did to me. I couldn't believe I'd never noticed the way she moved through the world like everything was lighter when she was around. I wanted every day to look like this, watching her be ridiculous and making fun of me until we were old and gray. She looked back at me, and the world seemed a little bit brighter. Are you coming? Always. Anywhere she went. After we picked out our pumpkin, we wandered through town and saw the Fright Fest sign. Ava read it and immediately started walking the other direction, pretending like she didn't see it. I grabbed her arm and pulled her back. We're going in there. She shook her head so fast, I thought it would unscrew and go flying off. Who's we? Bros speaking French, Eva rambled. Now who's the scaredy cat? Still you. I'm not the one scared of bells. Nope, just scared of signs that say Fright Fest. She scoffed and muttered unbelievable. Come on, it'll be fun. She yanked her arm back. Fun for you, maybe. I told her I'd protect her and she laughed. What are you going to protect me from? Scary actors? I suggested. She thought about it. Fine. But if I punch someone in a costume, it's your responsibility. Deal, I said. The haunted barn was packed, and Ava stood close to me the entire time we waited in line. I could tell she was nervous. When we finally went in, it was pitch black except for strobing lights. Something jumped out immediately, and Ava grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. "I hate this," she said. "I hate you for making me do this." Every time something scary happened, she'd squeeze tighter and hide behind me. At one point, an actor got right in her face and she screamed and buried her face in my shoulder. I could feel her shaking. "You good?" I asked, and she shook her head against my chest. "No, I'm dying. This is how I die." Another scare happened and she jumped. "Why are you laughing?" she accused. "I'm not laughing," I lied. "I can feel you laughing," she said, still pressed against me. When we finally got out, she was still holding my arm. She realized, but didn't drop it. "That was horrible," she said, but she was smiling. "You didn't protect me at all. You were using me as a human shield the whole time," I pointed out. She shrugged. "You're bigger. It was strategic." She paused. "Thanks, though, for letting me hide." I told her any time, and she looked away. "Shut up." Friday night, I texted everyone about game night at my place. I spent the entire afternoon setting up. Every game I pulled out was one of Eva's favorites. Codenames, Catan, Mario Kart. She was going to know exactly what I was doing, but I didn't care. People started showing up around 7. Ava arrived carrying a bag of chips and wearing my sweatshirt again. Some habits die hard. "Nice setup," she said, dropping the bag on my counter. Her eyes scanned the coffee table and stopped on the games. She looked at me, and I could see her trying not to smile. "Interesting choices." I shrugged like it was nothing. "Just grabbed what I had." She shook her head. "You're so obvious." We were getting ready to start, and I was talking to Harvey about our strategy when Eva walked over and stood next to me. "Okay, what's our strategy?" she asked. Harvey and I looked at her confused. "Actually, I'm teaming up with Harvey this time." Her eyebrows shot up and her mouth fell open a little. "Wait, what?" I told her I wanted to try partnering with someone else, and she just stood there. "But we always team up." Her voice came out smaller than usual. "I know," I said. "Switching it up will be fun." She recovered quickly and crossed her arms. "You think everything's fun, and that's why you're going to lose. You're going to regret this decision." Eva ended up with her roommate, and I'd never seen her so determined. The game started, and she leaned forward with her elbows on her knees. Every clue she gave was calculated. When her team guessed right, she'd throw her hands up. "Yes, that's what I'm talking about." After their third correct guess in a row, she looked directly at me. "We're destroying you guys, just so you know." I said the game wasn't over, and she grinned. "It basically is, though." I tried to focus on my own team, but I kept watching her instead. She'd scrunch her nose when she was thinking hard about a clue. When someone on her team guessed wrong, she'd drop her head back and groan. "No, I said gentle, not rental." But then she'd laugh about it. She was completely in her element, and I couldn't look away. "Aaron," Harvey said loudly, "it's your turn. Again." I snapped back to the board. Ava was staring at me now with this knowing look. "Having trouble focusing over there?" I told her to worry about her own team, and she laughed. "We're winning. I don't need to worry about anything." 3 hours later, Ava's team had won every single round. She was practically glowing. "Undefeated champion," she announced to the room. "Anyone want to challenge that title?" I said she just got lucky, and she grabbed a pillow off the couch and threw it at my head. "Luck? You're just mad you picked the wrong partner." People started leaving around midnight. Eva walked them to the door while I started picking up cups and plates. When she came back, she found me already cleaning. "I can help you know," she said. I told her she didn't have to, but she was already grabbing the trash bag from my hands. "Too late. I'm helping." We worked in silence, and I was hyper-aware of every time we got close to each other. She'd brush past me to throw something away. Our hands would almost touch, reaching for the same cup. It felt like she was doing it on purpose. When we finished, she collapsed on my couch and pulled her knees up to her chest. "Thanks for tonight. I had a lot of fun." I sat down next to her. "Oh, we know." She grinned. We started talking about random things. She told me about this girl in her psych class who always asked questions just to hear herself talk. I told her about my professor who wore the same outfit every single class. "Like the exact same outfit?" she asked. "I swear. Like even down to the shoes, Eva." She laughed, and the sound filled my entire apartment. "You need to check on him. Maybe he has no clothes." "That'd be really sad." Now I'm tempted to call him. "Do it," she challenged. I actually reached for my phone and saw it was 2 in the morning. I told her and watched her grimace, saying she didn't realize it was so late. "Do you want me to drive you home?" She said yeah, but didn't move at all. Just sat there staring at her hands. I watched her face, and something was off. "What's wrong?" She looked up quickly. "Nothing. It's late and you're probably tired. I don't want to make you drive right now." I told her it wasn't a big deal, but she shook her head. Can I just stay? I'll sleep on the couch. If you're staying over, you have to take my bed. She immediately protested. Erin, it's your bed. I'm not kicking you out. It's fine, the couch is comfortable anyway. This isn't one of your moves, is it? She raised an eyebrow. It's basic manners, I said, hoping she didn't continue to think I had bad intentions. Her mouth curved downwards into a frown, but it immediately went away. I honestly thought it was a trick of the light. We could, maybe share, the bed, she said. The words hung in the air between us. My eyes went wide. Share it? My brain caught up to my mouth. I just don't want to kick you out and you're not going to let me take the couch. It's just a compromise. She chuckled nervously and rubbed the back of her neck. Okay, I said slowly. We can put something between us, like towels down the middle so there's a barrier, she said. We went to my room and I grabbed every towel I could find. We laid them down the middle of the bed carefully. This looks like we're scared of each other. I asked if she was scared, and she looked at me. No. Are you? Not even a little. We got on our sides of the bed and I turned off the lamp. The room went dark and I could hear her breathing. Good night, Erin, she said softly. Night, Ava, I said back. I laid there staring at the ceiling, wondering how I was supposed to sleep, knowing she was right there. This didn't feel like friendship anymore. Friends didn't share beds and put up barriers like they were afraid of what would happen without them. My heart wouldn't stop racing. My hand was right at the edge of the towel barrier, and I wondered what would happen if I reached across. Would she pull away? Or would she reach back? The not knowing was killing me. She'd been different lately. Quieter sometimes. Looking at me longer than she used to. Did that mean something? Or was I just desperate to find meaning in everything she did now? I wanted to know if she laid awake in her own bed thinking about me the way I thought about her. If she replayed our conversations. If any of this meant something to her. My room felt too small suddenly. Too quiet except for her breathing. I could just ask. Roll over and tell her I couldn't sleep. See what she'd say. But what if she was already asleep and I was the only one whose heart wouldn't stop racing? What if I was the only one losing my mind over 12 inches of space and some towels? This was insane. She was insane for suggesting this. I was insane for agreeing. I don't even know how I managed to fall asleep, but somehow I woke up to sunlight hitting my face and a weight on my chest. Ava was completely on my side of the bed with her head on my chest. My arm was around her waist. All the towels were on the floor in a pile. She was still asleep, and I didn't dare move. I barely let myself breathe. Her head was on my chest, and my arm was wrapped around her waist like it belonged there. I could feel every breath she took. My heart was pounding, and I was terrified it would wake her up, especially since her face was relaxed in a way I'd never seen before. I wanted to remember every detail of this moment, the weight of her against me, how perfectly she fit there, how right this felt, like we'd done this 1,000 times before. I knew the second she woke up this would end. She'd pull away and make some joke about the towels not working, but I knew that soon this would be 100% intentional. She would choose to be here like this. I knew the exact moment she woke up because her entire body tensed. She lifted her head slowly and looked at me. Her eyes were wide and her hair was a mess. Hi, I smiled down at her. She blinked a few times and gave me a small smile. Hi. She looked down at where we were tangled together, my arm around her waist, her leg thrown over mine, all the towels on the floor. So the barrier didn't work, she said. I told her apparently not, and she sat up quickly. I'm so sorry. I must have moved in my sleep. She was scrambling to put distance between us, and I hated it. I sat up too. It's fine. No, it's not. She looked away and started gathering the towels from the floor. This is so embarrassing. I literally built a wall to prevent this, and then completely ignored it. I told her it wasn't embarrassing, and she laughed, but it sounded forced. I woke up on top of you, Erin. That's pretty embarrassing. I wanted to tell her it was the best way I'd ever woken up, that I'd been awake for 20 minutes just watching her sleep, because I didn't want the moment to end. But I didn't say any of that. So I just said it was fine again, like an idiot. I thought it was too heavy for someone who had just woken up. Plus, it was obvious she was falling for me, so she didn't need to hear any of that just yet. Sunday afternoon, Eva texted asking if she could come over. I said yeah, and she showed up 20 minutes later holding 2 coffees. Peace offering, she said when I opened the door. She walked past me into my apartment like she owned the place. What for? I asked, taking one of the cups. For being weird yesterday morning. I don't want things to be awkward between us. Nah, they're not awkward, I said, taking a sip and staring her down. She couldn't hold eye contact with me, and I saw her fidgeting. Good, she said after a while. Because we still have like 2 weeks left of this bet, and I'm not losing. I almost spit out my coffee. She really thought. I didn't even bother responding and just went to the couch. She followed after me, and suddenly we were watching some show that neither of us cared about. She kept looking at me from the corner of her eye. I could see her doing it. After the 5th time, I turned my head. What? She whipped her head back to the TV. Nothing. I'm just thinking about how I'm totally winning this bet. I laughed, and she looked offended. What's funny? The idea of you winning is pretty funny. She sat up and twisted her body to face me. I am winning. The month is almost over and I haven't fallen for you, so, yeah, I'm winning. I mirrored her position. You really believe that? She nodded so hard her hair bounced. I know that. You've tried everything and it hasn't worked. Are you sure? Her eyes narrowed. Positive. Still just friends. You lose Aaron. I smiled at her and she threw her hands up. Why are you smiling like that? It's creepy. I told her nothing was creepy about it. You woke up on my chest yesterday, Eva. Your whole body was wrapped around mine. Her face went bright red, and she grabbed a pillow to hold against her stomach. That was an accident. I told you I move in my sleep. Felt nice, didn't it? I asked. She suddenly got very interested in the couch. I didn't comment on the fact she didn't deny it. The silence got heavy between us, so heavy she was able to snap out of whatever trance she was in. I can't control what happens when I'm unconscious. Run! She yelled, and launched the pillow at my face. She loved doing that. I caught the pillow before it hit me and set it aside. Okay, Eva. Whatever you say. She made this frustrated sound in her throat and turned her whole body to face me on the couch. Her legs tucked under her. Stop doing that. I asked what she wanted me to do. I want you to admit that I'm winning. Can't do that. Why not? I told her because it wasn't true, and she leaned forward on her knees. Yes, it is. She was right in front of me now, close enough that I could see how frustrated she actually was. You're lying to yourself, I said, and she put her hands on my knees to steady herself as she got even closer. I'm not lying about anything. You're just mad because your plan failed. She moved up until one of her knees was between my legs. I stayed completely still. Keep telling yourself that, Eva. She made this noise of frustration, and her other knee came up so she was straddling my legs. I am telling myself the truth. Each word punctuated, sharp. She was sitting on my thighs now, her hands planted on either side of my shoulders on the couch. I just looked at her. You done? That made her angrier. Say something real. I raised an eyebrow. What do you want me to say? She leaned in closer. Anything. Tell me I'm right. Tell me you give up. Something. I shook my head slowly. You already lost Eva. How? I gestured between us. You're on top of me right now. She froze. Her eyes went wide like she just realized her position, where her hands were, how close our faces were. That's because you're being infuriating. But she didn't move back. Her chest was rising and falling fast. And stop smiling. I tilted my head. What am I smiling about? She gestured at my face with one hand before putting it back on the couch. That! You're doing it again! That knowing smile like you've already won. I told her the truth. I have won. She leaned in so close our noses almost touched. You're so annoying. So full of yourself. Her voice had gotten quieter, less angry. Something else was happening in her eyes. She was fighting with herself, but her eyes gave away her feelings when they dropped to my lips. It was just for a second, but I caught it. Ava, I said softly, and she looked back at my eyes quickly. What? Her voice was barely above a whisper now. I pointed it out. You just looked at my lips. Her face went red. No, I didn't. She did it again. Looked right at my lips and then back up. You're doing it right now, I said. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Her breathing changed. Got heavier. Aaron, she started, and I could hear her voice shaking. How many times do I have to tell you that I'm not falling for you? I won't. This bet is ridiculous, and I'm going to win. I tilted my head slightly. Really? She nodded, but I could see her resolve cracking. Yes, I'm not falling for you. I reached up slowly, and she watched my hand like she was in a trance. My palm touched her cheek. Everything stopped. The whole world went quiet. She leaned into the palm of my hand as I brushed my thumb across her cheekbone. Then why are you about to kiss me? Her eyes looked different when we made eye contact. Softer. Vulnerable. They looked at my lips, and her breathing got heavier. And then she closed the distance. Her lips crashed into mine, and I pulled her closer by her waist. She melted against me and made this small sound that made my heart race. When she pulled back, We were both breathing hard. She looked at me with her forehead pressed against mine. I fell for you, she said quietly. I smiled. I know. She laughed breathlessly. Of course you did. You're so smug about it. I pulled her back to me. You love it, though. She kissed me again. Slower this time. Deeper. Yeah, she said against my lips. I really do.